This is Rebel Therapist, a podcast for entrepreneurs who are trained as therapists and who want to level up their businesses, make a bigger impact, feel fulfilled, and be very well paid. I'm your host, Annie Schusler. You're about to hear from 4 entrepreneurs who have created phenomenal programs beyond private practice. This is part 4 in a podcast mini-series within Rebel Therapist, where you're hearing cameo appearances from folks who have been through Rebel Therapist programs this year. You're going to hear what they created and the biggest lessons they each learned in the process. Before we get into these wonderful cameos, I want to tell you that right now, until Wednesday, August 17th, enrollment for Create Your Program is open. I would love to work with you. Over 8 weeks in CYP, you take important steps to create your program beyond private practice and share it with the people who need it. We work on niching, designing a high-quality and high-touch program, and creating a marketing system. You get to ask a legal expert all your questions. You get a workshop from a systems and tech expert. We have a BIPOC business mentor leading additional private calls for BIPOC participants. And you're in a small group with me getting your questions answered every single week. Go over to rebeltherapist.me/create and enroll. I can't wait to see you inside. All right, let's get to Mara Gutierrez, Danika Maddocks, Nick Venegoni, and Katie Nasherson. Up first, we have Mara Gutierrez.
Hi, I'm Mara, and I've created a preparation and integration program for highly sensitive people wanting to use psychedelics and entheogens in their healing journey and needing support throughout that process. Psychedelics and entheogens, just expanded states in general, are having a bit of a comeback into mainstream culture in the West. And with that comeback, I think we're also seeing a lot of romanticizing or idealizing of their effects. This picture of them as some sort of panacea, I think, has been emerging, which feels like an extraction of the profitable aspects of these practices and a disregard for the very complex cultural, political, and spiritual dimensions that they're a part of. I also notice how isolating it can feel to experience expanded states without having a community to support you through that journey or make sense of that experience. And I know how powerful it can be to bear witness to someone else's process. Just having a group of people facing similar questions you can lean on for mutual support. So I felt the need to create a program that could walk folks, especially those who identify as highly sensitive, through this process with a sense of reverence, a sense of integrity, this deep sense of communal joy. We meet for 8 weeks as a small group and go through a curriculum that weaves in IFS, internal family systems, somatic practices, specifically breathwork, and harm reduction principles. My goal for this program is to provide a guiding framework around how to best prepare for, approach, and integrate expanded states based on your personal values, your lived experience, and the specific vision that you might hold for your life. Now, the process of birthing this program has been a huge learning moment for me. One thing that it has really highlighted is the importance of community on a personal level. So it has been very meta in that way. I have consulted with mentors, I've joined group programs myself, I've asked for feedback from people I love and trust. So it has been a very relational process for me. This need to be in community as I create it, which in many ways I think it's precisely a reflection of this program and my intention for folks to find personal healing, but also expand beyond that into collective liberation, so that by the end of the program, they've experienced not only the healing potential of expanded states, but also the powerful medicine that is community and belonging.
My name is Danika Maddocks, and I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and my program is called Parenting Your Intense Gifted Kid. It is an 8-week small group coaching program for parents with intense gifted kids. And it's open to parents with kids who are gifted, or parents who think their kids are gifted, or twice exceptional. Someone who's twice exceptional is gifted and also has ADHD or a learning disability or is also autistic. And I created this program because I am a psychologist with a private practice where I focus on working with kids who are gifted and twice exceptional, as well as their families. And I have just found, I've talked to so many parents from Minnesota, where I'm licensed, but also from other states who have found me online through my writing, who are just really craving accurate information about how to support their gifted kids, and who have all kinds of worries and questions, particularly about the gifted kids who are intense, who have really deep feelings, or big behaviors, who get really worked up or overwhelmed. And I think it's just hard for these families to find accurate information about giftedness and what their kids need, or, that it's hard to find people and professionals who know very much about this population. And so since this is kind of my interest area and specialty, I wanted to create a program where parents could meet other parents like them and get accurate information about giftedness, and then learn how to apply that information to their life to connect with their kid and know how to support their kid and feel better. The ultimate outcome of the program is really that parents are going to feel more confident parenting their intense gifted kid, and just that they'll feel confident that they are on the right path and doing the right things and able to respond to their kids' big feelings in a way that's helpful. And I think in the process of creating this program, one of the most powerful things for me has been thinking through my framework as I focus on a specific audience and a specific problem and a specific, one specific program. So I think before starting this coaching process with Annie and Rebel Therapist, I had generated a very long list of ideas that I thought were different programs that would be really cool to run, either with kids or their families or with parents alone. And I had just a long, really diverse list all around the topic of giftedness, but just different ways to help gifted kids and their families. And I think, I thought that just kind of being knowledgeable in this area, I think my sense at that time of how to be a successful business or how to be really a valuable resource for folks would be to have lots of different offerings, and to address, different problems that people have. And through this process, I think, learning to focus on one core program offering and make that program really good, has helped me clarify how I want to work with people and how I want to support families. And it has helped me also feel like I can create a more sustainable and successful business in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. So I think even though having lots of ideas was exciting, going through this process to choose a specific audience who I'm focusing on, these parents with these intense gifted kids, then I can actually picture in my mind who I'm talking to when I'm writing my emails. It helps me really stay more focused in what I'm writing about, and actually gives me more ideas about things to write about as I'm sending emails to my mailing list. I created a new business for this program called the Gifted Learning Lab, and having this particular audience and this particular program in mind helped me write the copy for my website in a way that made sense to me, that felt really coherent and cohesive. And I think then kind of developing my framework, which is being able to define here's how I help people, or here's how I work, this is how my program works to help this specific group of parents who have these intense gifted kids. Working on that has helped me clarify how I work even more, and just help me kind of wrap my head around it. So I'm really focusing on accurate information, this kind of personalized adaptation where parents can use this accurate information about giftedness and adapt it to their unique family situation. And then I lead them through guided reflection to figure out what's actually working for them or what needs to change, and then thoughtful connection with their kids and with the other parents. And for me, going through this process of simplifying and focusing on one program and then getting really clear about my framework has helped me feel more calm and grounded as I start this new business. And I think that it's going to make the program experience a lot clearer for parents too. So that's been a really neat process to focus in and figure out my unique style of approaching this problem, instead of getting distracted by the 1 million other cool ideas I could be doing.
Hi, I'm Nick Venegoni, and I'm based out of San Francisco, California. As someone who grew up religious but feeling like I didn't quite fit in my spiritual identity, I have spent many years exploring and experimenting with a variety of spiritual practices from meditation and yoga to energy and body work. Now I have combined that with my training as a therapist into my one-on-one and group offerings. I work with many queer folks in my private practice who are curious about exploring spirituality as a way to deepen and expand their personal healing work. So I created a course for them. My 6-week online course is called Queer Initiation: Reclaim the Power of You. Through the process of the course, we explore our connection to inner wisdom and spiritual guidance, and we also trace the history of our relationship to personal power and sovereignty. We learn about the roles of leadership and authority that queer folks have had in cultures around the globe for centuries, and how political and religious leadership stripped us of that power. The course concludes with a personal initiation practice to reclaim our unique power and gift. I help students learn how to cultivate and tend to these ways of being so that it can become an integral part of their queer identity. I created this course as a way to bring together some of the most meaningful and transformative experiences I've had as a queer person to help others who are hungry for this work. Many of the settings I experienced these processes in were queer-friendly, but not exclusively so. I believe that there is something special about doing this work in queer community, and so I decided to fill that void. Folks who have completed the course have expressed feeling more confident and connected to themselves, ready to let go of fear that is no longer serving them, and willing and open to connect more deeply with others. It's been great to see how people are able to really dive deep into the practices. They find the support both in the group and in themselves to create their own queer initiation practice. I created the first iteration of this offering about 6 years ago. I foolishly packed everything into a single-day in-person class. We got through it, but people were fried at the end. The second and third time, it was a 2-day in-person class, which was much better. The next time, I did it online over the course of 4 weeks, and I completely changed the structure to fit the online format. It still wasn't perfect, but it was successful. I've continued to offer it online since COVID, but hope to offer it in person again soon. I'd really love to make it a 3-day retreat experience, but I haven't quite gotten there yet. What I have learned through this process is that it doesn't have to be perfect for the first time. I even changed the name 3 or 4 times. I'm not a perfectionist at all, but the hard part for me is to keep revisiting and refining the content. I'm the kind of person who wants to do it once and have it be done. I find revisions tedious, but I do see the benefit of it to the folks who take my offerings. Processes and experiences get streamlined, or they get elongated because they just need more time. But the benefit of being in the Rebel Therapist community is that I can get continual feedback from Annie and the group as I go through every iteration of the process. And what this teaches me in general is that nothing has to be exactly right the first time. I can just keep trying again and again, recycling and composting ideas, new and old, and just see what grows.
Hey there, my name is Katie Nasherson, and I live in the Hudson Valley of New York, just about 90 minutes north of New York City. My program is called Rebuild and Grow. It's a coaching program for folks whose worlds have flipped upside down due to some sort of catastrophe or sudden trauma, and they're ready to rebuild their lives, but aren't exactly sure where to start. I created this program because I've been there, and I really wish I had had a program like this. You know, a guide and hands-on support of how to rebuild and structure your life in a way that puts what you want, need, and desire as a top priority after going through something really terrible. So just before COVID-19 changed all of our lives, I went through my own sudden and life-changing event. I had an apartment fire on New Year's Eve heading into 2020. Clearly not a great omen for the year, but in an instant, my whole world was different. And while my story is one specific way that a trauma or sudden event can flip your world upside down, I think the feelings that come up in the aftermath things fall apart is really a universal experience for folks. You know, a sudden accident, a breakup, losing your job, COVID, feeling like you used to really have your shit together and generally liked your life and felt good about it. And then, something happened. And now you feel stuck, hopeless, confused, really fucking tired. So the social worker in me obviously wanted to figure out a way to help more folks move through these times. I had figured out a system to rebuild my own life and find a way forward, and now I wanted to be able to share it. The outcome of my program is really living a new life after trauma that's grounded in your dreams, finding hope, excitement, and growth to live a life that you love again, and having a new perspective that this growth is 100% attainable. I know it is because I've also lived it. It can just be really hard to see when you're in the stuckness right after something has happened, when you're in survival mode and just trudging through the mess. I've developed a process of weeding through this mess and finding clarity. One of the main things I've learned through Create Your Program and the Rebel Mastermind is that it's okay, and probably even better, to do things your own way. Like, sure, we've learned lots about the nuts and bolts of marketing, because that's definitely not taught in social work school. But the biggest game changer has been figuring out what, number one, feels good and isn't completely energy draining, and number two, marketing and working in a way that truly, truly works in my life and my schedule. The most exciting part related to doing things my own way has been hosting a weekly book club as a way of marketing and getting more folks knowing about the work I do. I started the book club in December, and we meet each and every Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. I really wasn't sure anyone would show up when I put it out into the world, and it has been wildly successful. Not only do I get to read a new book each month, they're all books that I've been wanting to read and I just would never get around to. But the book club has also grown my mailing list. I think the last time I looked, over 85 new folks were added to my list just from running this book club. It's something that the members say they look forward to each week, and honestly, I do too. So it's been a pretty awesome bonus all around. Thanks so much.
You can learn more about Mara Gutierrez at thehealingexhale.com/program. You can learn more about Danika Maddocks at giftedlearninglab.com. You can learn more about Nick Venagoni at queerhealingjourneys.com. And you can learn more about Katie Nasherson at rebuildandgrow.com. I am so grateful to the four of them. I want to thank Cosmo Palms for editing this podcast, and I really appreciate you listening. If you heard some stories today that you know could help another therapist or healer, please share this podcast. Oh yeah, and don't forget, enrollment for Create Your Program closes on Wednesday, August 17th. So head over to rebeltherapist.me/create to learn all about it and grab your spot.